is rated PG. Parental guidance is advised.
Welcome to Body Garage. This is where you not only get to learn about your physical health, but also get to learn about your psychological as well as your mental health. This is where we show you how to deal and cope with any illness aside from the doctor's prescription. This is where we explore the art of well-being. And I'll be your host, Beatrice Watare. Now, on our premiere episode, we will be diving deep into being part of the breast cancer campaign. And of course, October is the pink month. So we will be looking at the statistics of breast cancer, look at a case study, and of course, have a conversation with an expert. So please do stay tuned all the way to the end. But first, let's look at the statistics. According to WHO, as of 2020, there were 2.3 million women diagnosed with breast cancer and 685,000 deaths globally. As of the end of 2020, there were 7.8 million women alive who were diagnosed with breast cancer in the past 5 years, making it the world's most prevalent cancer. According to a report done by National Cancer Institute, breast cancer is still the most prevalent type among Kenyan women from the selected counties. Breast cancer, according to the report, is more prevalent in Nairobi, Meru, Mombasa, Kiambu, Nakuru, and Embu counties. Now, in a global effort to raise awareness on the breast cancer, October is designated as the Pink Month. And the Pink Month is where we get to understand what are these early signs and how do we cope with the disease itself. And with me here is Catherine, who has survived cancer for over 18 years. And I'm really excited to get the story from her. So, Catherine, how are you today?
I'm fine. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes.
Okay, so do tell us. I do understand that you were diagnosed with cancer back then, and this is literally your 18th year. So how has been the experience so far?
The 18 years, at the beginning, let me just say how I first found the lump.
Yeah.
You know, I always did my breast self-examinations, and I remember discovering, and every month without fail, I always did my breast self-examinations. And October 2003, I did my breast self-examination and felt something. So I wondered, what is it, you know? So basically for a whole month, 2 months, let me say, it was still there. And every time I would poke it and ask it, you're still here, you know? You're not going nowhere. So come December of that year, I decided, this thing is not going anywhere and I'm not feeling pain. Why don't I just go and have it checked? And so I did actually end of December that year, we decided to go and have the lump checked. And the doctor suggested that I have an FNA. That's a fine needle aspiration where the needle is put through into the lump and liquid is, you know, removed. So they did that. The results came out inconclusive. There was nothing. But then the doctor just suggested, if the lump is really bothering me, why not go and have it removed? So I said, I might as well, because every day I am, you know, touching it and it's like it's in my way. And it wasn't painful. So that's when I went and had the lump removed. Then a few days later is when I was thrown this bombshell. You know, when I went to have my stitches removed and sitting there, and the doctor, although the doctor didn't tell me the news in a professional way that time, because I was sitting in his office and he was on the phone talking to the hospital, and I assumed then that he was talking to the theater because they asked, I think, operation for what? And he said mastectomy. And he just looked at me. Of course, I knew what mastectomy was. And I just could feel my heart sinking, you know, all the way down. And so anyway, eventually he told me, I'm sorry, but I need to book you in. I've booked you in to this evening for a operation tomorrow morning. And so he didn't ask me, can we call anybody, to come, and no, nothing, So I left that place, went to another doctor's office who needed to sign some papers. Then I left the clinic. I remember getting into the car and just telling God, you know what? You will be the driver of this vehicle, because I don't know how I'm going to go back to the office. Anyway, I went to the office, managed to get there, went and I threw the envelope on my boss's desk, and I sat there and tears just started rolling down. As that was the first sign of emotions, because I think I was just on autopilot. So from then on, he read and just told me, no, I'm so sorry, but knowing you're a tough cookie. You will make it, So I told him, let me just go home and prepare, and so, which I did.
Yeah.
Got home, now tried to pick up that phone to call my husband to tell him, now the results are out and this is what has happened. It took me so long.
Yeah.
Every time I picked up and dialed the number, I would disconnect it. I did that for over an hour. Eventually I said, no, let me get the courage. So the moment he answered, I said, I've got cancer and I have to go into hospital this evening for an operation tomorrow morning. And I disconnected the phone. So he was like, wait, because my mind was all in jumbles. I wasn't thinking, I can't say that I was really thinking, right? I wasn't, So yeah, from then on is when he eventually came, and after making me talk to so many doctors to find out why, why the urgency of the operation.
Yes.
And he even said, no, even if I have to take you to London, I want to take you to London. So I said, even if you take me to London, they're still going to remove my breast,
Mm-hmm.
So I might as well have it removed here. It will not make much of a difference.
Exactly.
So anyway, he eventually agreed, and then he came in the evening. We went to hospital. He was still not, he had still not accepted. But for him, I know why.
Mm-hmm.
Because unfortunately, his mother passed away in 1972, and she had breast cancer. And then his younger sister, because there are three of them, his younger sister, their last born, was also diagnosed with breast cancer in 1988.
Right.
And within 7 months, she was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then now here I am, his wife, being diagnosed with breast cancer. How unfortunate can somebody be, And so for me, for him, I knew that was such a difficult time for him.
Yeah.
And also his older sister had also been diagnosed with cancer, but it was slow growing,
Mm-hmm.
And she had managed to, to control it. So I'm like, poor guy,
Yeah.
For a moment I thought, oh gosh, this guy is going to leave, and if he does, I can't blame him.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went in, and I think that night, after my pastors came and they prayed for me, and after that I had a clarity of mind, and I said, this disease will have no business in my life or controlling me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if we go a little bit behind and maybe talk about you having those self-examining and you doing it on yourself. So for how long did you actually do it before deciding to now go to the hospital for a checkup?
No, I had always been doing my breast self every month,
Right.
without fail. And I would encourage every woman to do her breast self-examination, because that's what saved me.
Yes, and I think that's very impressive, because most of the time we don't do it until it's already really too late.
Too late. Or you're waiting for, imagine somebody waiting for October to go for free screening.
Yeah.
Why are you waiting a whole year to go for free screening when you can do it by yourself at home, at the comfort of your home? And it's something so simple to do. It's so important that you look at your body. And I tell them, stand in front of a mirror, hands akimbo, look at your breasts. Look at any change that could be there.
Yes.
It could be a nipple inverting in. Why? It could be a nipple that is discharging if you're not like breastfeeding.
Yes.
Why? And you could be having a rash, or the breast looks like like an orange peel, how it looks like that discoloration, yet it wasn't there. check for those details.
Yeah, and I think for you to even notice when there's a difference is when you're aware of how it looks when it's normal.
Yes.
So I think it's important for women to make it a habit of doing that self-examination.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe Catherine, you could let us in on the chemotherapy. How was it like?
Chemotherapy was tough. Started being tough.
Right.
But when I was going, I didn't think much. I just said, it's an injection, intravenous, and medication will just go through.
Yes.
And all this time, even during my healing from my operation, I had this positive outlook, And so when we went into the clinic, the doctor, my husband is being given a mask, the assistant him is wearing. So I actually said, in Swahili, mbona kuna ubaguzi? Why is there favoritism here? How come I'm not getting a mask? You're all getting masks. So he says, what I'm going to put into your body are toxins, which we should not breathe in.
Wow.
That's when it went pop. I was dumbfounded.
Right.
I was dumbfounded. And I just looked at him and I kept quiet. That's when it hit me. This is a serious disease.
Yes.
If what is going into my body should not be smelled by these other people who are around me who are well, then this is something serious. Anyway, I went through my treatments, and I remember I had read a lot. Google is a bad person.
Yeah, true.
I don't encourage people to go into Google Googling all this. You will get good sites, you will get bad sites.
Yes.
So I had read about all these side effects, and even the doctor had told me, because I asked him, what side effects should I be expecting? So he said, number one will be your hair will fall off, completely. You will have no hair. And then, so I said, if my hair falls off, will it grow back? He said, yeah. I said, my breast has been cut off. Will it grow back? He looked at me and he said, let's not go there.
What has really impressed me most is the fact that your life didn't stop. You still went on with work and doing the normal things that you usually do. And maybe, were there any other habits that you had to adapt? Maybe exercising, your dieting? What were the other different things, maybe apart from the medication?
Oh, okay, the exercise. First and foremost, when I left hospital, I should touch on that. When I left hospital, you are, your emotional state, your physical state, your psychological state, all that is affected. Yeah. And I remember going home from hospital. I went in with 2 breasts and I'm coming out with 1. How am I going to handle myself?
Yeah.
So I remember coming home and I'm like, how will I act in front of him? How will I present myself in front of my husband? And it was tough because I'm like, am I going to stand naked in front of him with me having 1 breast? That was difficult for me. And I remember I would go to the bathroom fully dressed, take my, and then come out and have something and then I'm covering myself, Then it got to a point, he told me, no, I want to have a look at that scar. I was like, are you really sure?
Yes.
For me, it was also difficult for me to look at that scar. Yeah. So I asked him, are you sure? And he said, yes. So I closed my eyes and I showed him the scar. I did not want to see his expression. But from then on, he said, because there was an ointment that we were applying, then he told me, from today on, I'm the one who will be your doctor. I will be and I'm like, why would you? Then he said, no, I would like to do it. So after he left later on is when he told me, wait a minute. It's also a way for him to heal.
Right. Yeah.
You see? It's also a way for him to heal and to accept the way now that I look.
Yes.
Yeah. So in fact, it got to a point that we started joking and I'm like, hey, my one side is flatter than your chest. And so and that's how for him, he accepted. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what women all over can learn is that the acceptance is the beginning of your healing, basically.
It is.
Because I love how you still soldiered on, and the support from your husband as well was really tremendous, and at the same time moving, because I think most of the time when we look at cancer, breast cancer in its own, it comes with a lot, psychologically, emotionally, physically as well. So I think I'm really glad that we got to share that conversation, and I'm happy that 18 years down the line, you're still soldiering on, you're strong, and still raising the awareness.
It's having a positive mind.
Yeah.
And I tell people that nothing can be bigger than my life was threatened.
Yes.
You know, you have this certain pain at a certain place which shouldn't be, and it's not going anywhere. Go and have it checked. You have a mold or something black happening on your skin, and it's growing. Why? Go and have it checked.
Yeah.
You know. So I do a lot of talk. I create a lot of awareness. I talk to a lot of women and walk the walk with them, newly diagnosed women. And we walk with them until the time that they're able to be completely comfortably on their feet.
And maybe because of time, as we wind up, maybe we can touch on the coming event on the 1st of October.
Yeah, okay, with the Kenya Cancer Association, Ken Cancer, and they normally, they have the license for Relay for Life event, which is, in over 40 countries. And it happens once a year. And we've always had it 24 hours. We used to have it at KICC, and we say 24 hours. It's actually a relay where you're not running, you're walking. You have a team of 10, 15 people, and from that group, somebody is always on the track walking. Because we say cancer doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
You know, cancer is 24 hours. So on the first, after 2 years, we were not able to do it the last 2 years. So on the 1st of October, we are going to do a mini relay. And it's going to be at the Arboretum. It's going to be, we are only going to do it half day. And so we would want people to come, and Kenya Cancer just does all cancers, you know. And the theme is a purple theme. The color purple is for all cancers. So we will be there, there will be talks, you'll be walking, there'll be screening, we will have a luminaria ceremony. A luminaria ceremony is the one that we celebrate those who have conquered cancer. We remember those who have gone, and we fight back. We want to fight back this disease. Yeah, so that very soon the pamphlets will come out, and we'll tell people more about it. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing that
welcome.
with us. And I think, dear viewers, what we can learn and take from that is that early detection definitely saves lives. Once you identify something different, and remember, you have to be familiar with how your body looks so that you will know when there's something different. And make sure when you get these signs, whether it's the lump, whether it's your body, no matter how you feel, make sure you get tested. Go somewhere and make sure you get a good diagnosis. We've had it from Catherine herself. She was able to identify the lump. She went to the hospital, and moving forward, 18 years down the line, she's a survivor, and she's also raising even more awareness everywhere. And I think the best way she was able to cope with it is, the first thing is make sure you accept it, and now make sure you put all your efforts towards getting a great recovery. So that has been Catherine, and remember, you're watching Body Garage. This is where we talk about matters health, matters mental, matters psychological, and definitely we are going now to be seeing an expert to get more insights on the disease itself. Remember, this is October, the pink month. We call it the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so please do not go far.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Raha iliyoje kuungana na wasomi hawa kutoka shule hii ya msingi ya Kinyago Dadora.
Leo tunajikita kwenye mada ya matumizi ya kiungo ki.
Mtahini wa KCPE anapenda sana kuuliza matumizi ya vipengele hivi, na wanafunzi wengi wakati mwingine huwa anajipata kukanganyikiwa wasijue ki hutumika wapi, kwa sababu kule nje ki hutumika kusikofaa.
Nipate mifano kutoka kwenu ambapo kiungo ki imetumika kuonyesha udogo.
Mfano mmoja ni kijito chetu kimekauka.
Na ukitaka kujua wakati mwingine ki ya masharti iwapo inakutatiza, jaribu kukanusha sentensi.
Chuma kikivunjika kitalehemiwa.
Naam.
Kukanusha ni chuma kisipovunjika hakitalehemiwa.
Tumpigie Najala makofi.
Want to know the meaning of a soft life? It's living with ease and accessing quality lifestyle while taking a swim. It's taking care of your body in a 5-star gym while you achieve your fitness goals. It's living in a serene and quiet neighborhood. It's about staying in a place with spacious driveways and ample parking. It's about living in a safe and secure environment. It's about convenient shopping. Soft life is living comfortable in affordable and yet an elegant space. It's everything stylish. Here's to introducing Great Rift Apartments, located at the heart of Nakuru City in Kisulisuli Estate, just a few minutes from the Central Business District. Great Rift Apartments, the hub of soft living.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu ya kizidi, muone daktari.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Mudhoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday, The Realtor brings it all to perspective. We identify a property, discuss and demonstrate the journey towards ownership.
Professionals who have integrity, and from their catalog you can easily read that these are professionals who are able to deliver.
Everywhere you go, you have to up your games, you have to go with the trends.
Not forgetting the margins as well as the risks that come along.
The runaway prices of the land. We are saying that it's something that we can never go without mentioning. Any developer will not go without mentioning the price of land.
Don't miss out. Do you want the latest news on farming? We've got
Now we got to understand that cancer kills close to 500,000 women globally. But again, we had such a beautiful conversation with Catherine, who is a cancer survivor. And right now we're going to dive deep into understanding what are the signs, what are the coping mechanisms, as well as just understanding how well do we treat the cancer disease. And with me is a health expert who will be definitely joining us in the conversation, and I'm really glad. So please, Daktari, do introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Dr. Victor Nani. I'm the medical director for RFH Healthcare. RFH is where we have Royal Family Hospital plus a host of other facilities. We are 9 in total now.
Amazing. And I think everybody at home is just asking themselves one question: what is breast cancer?
So maybe to answer that question, we start with what cancer is in general. So the body has to somehow grow, meaning that new cells are made and some old cells die. This process is well controlled in a normal healthy organ. Unfortunately, sometimes you have a situation where the cells disregard the body's control mechanisms. So the cells just grow without any form of control. They go into spaces that they're not supposed to go to, and this is basically what cancer is, where cells grow out of control. The second thing that then we'll refer to is cancer of the breast. What does that mean? So this basically means that there are these cells that are growing, and they're growing outside of the normal breast tissue. So the breast is generally made up of fat. Within this fat, you'll find some glands that produce milk. They're called lobules. And then there are the small channels that pass the milk from the glands to the outer part of the breast. And these are the ducts. So most commonly you find that the cells of either the lobules or the ducts become cancerous, meaning they outgrow their normal bounds and begin to invade other tissues. This is what we refer to as breast cancer. Of course, you could also have this happening at the nipple, all the way back in the lobules and the ducts as well.
Mm-hmm. And just maybe to understand, what are the signs, the very early signs of the breast cancer?
Mm-hmm. So breast cancer, like many cancers, and in fact it's a good point you're asking, a lot of people wait for late symptoms. Late symptoms include things like pain, whereas before, when cancer is very early, when it's curable, then the symptoms are less dramatic. So you may find something like a lump in the breast, some changes above the skin. You may find that there's some dimpling. The skin is, it looks as if the movement is not the same way. The shape looks slightly different from what the shape has been before. You may have some discharge coming up from the breast. These are some of the signs that you begin to see very early on before late symptoms begin to set in, such as pain or an obvious mass, or sometimes it becomes a bit more aggressive, and you can actually see as if there is a lesion that's developing on the breast. You may have some lumps appearing in the armpits. All these are symptoms and signs that you may see early on in breast cancer.
Right, and I think most of the time we get to understand that the lumps only are found on the breast. So you've mentioned a very important point, that also on the armpits you might also experience the same. So how does one maybe carry out the self-examination, especially on the breast? What's the place where you're supposed to check?
Yes, so the breast exam is something that we've not taught people as much as we should. One of the pains we have as doctors is seeing a late presentation of cancer, while breast cancer can be detected very early on. So you divide the breast into certain what we call quadrants. You divide it into 4 areas, and then you're able to go through each of those areas. There's a method that we put on YouTube as well, which you're able to just follow through to guide you through this process. And then also around the nipple area, and also the axilla. The axilla is the armpit. So essentially you'll stand before a mirror, and the first thing you're going to do is inspect. Just look at the breast and see, does the breast look normal, or does it look different? And then there are a couple of things you're going to do. For example, you're going to just hold your waist like this, and then that normally makes some movement amongst the breast. Is it moving at the same rate? Are they at the same level, or is something changed with something different? And then after inspecting, then you'll go to the point where you begin to then touch every quadrant a bit firmly, circular motion. What you're using is this part of your hand, not the fingertips, but basically this part of your fingers, just the 4 of them, or actually 3 are good enough, and you press deeply every quadrant, methodically going through every quadrant. And in case you feel any lump, it doesn't have to be an actual lump, however small it is. If you're uncomfortable about something, please see a doctor early so the conversation is had. Also, again, remember to then feel in the armpit. The breast has what is called a tail. It goes all the way into the armpit. So again, you also feel in that area. And then finally, you assess the nipple and see if there's any discharge that's coming out of the nipple.
And I think there's something that Catherine had mentioned when she first discovered that she had the lump. When she went to the hospital, they couldn't immediately diagnose that it was cancerous. So how do you differentiate between a cancerous lump and and one that is not?
So by and large, most lumps that people have in the breast are actually non-cancerous. It's some tissue that is not cancerous. Of course, there's a small risk it may convert into cancer much later, but by and large, most lumps are not cancerous. It's important to mention this. But then the way to tell cancers apart eventually will be that we'll take a piece of that tissue and then look at it under a microscope, do some additional processing of it, and then it will tell us whether this is a cancerous cell or it's not a cancerous cell.
Right.
But also the characteristics, what we find can also guide us. Normally these breast lumps that are benign, you will not find them going into to attach themselves to the skin, for example, to make some dramatic changes on the skin or to even form lesions. You will not find significant swellings of lymph nodes in the armpit, for example. So the presentation can also give us a bit of a clue that this particular growth is cancerous.
Yeah.
Although the eventual decision is normally, is confirmed through what we call histology. Histology is you take a piece of it and then stain it, have a specialist called a pathologist look at it, and then they give us a conclusive report on it.
Right. And maybe just to understand, what are some of the predisposing factors, or rather, what makes you more prone, or who is the person who is more at risk to get the cancer?
So there are many things that would predispose you to cancer. There are things that you can change and things that are within your control, and it's important we all listen to this as well. And then the things that, something that you've inherited or something that you don't have much control over. So what are these things that we can control? I say routinely, please don't smoke. There's a lot of economic interest around it, and it's gotten a very nice reputation. People think it's cool, but in fact, smoking is extremely harmful. It's a big risk factor. Excessive alcohol intake as well. Again, I know I should be wearing a helmet when I say anything bad about alcohol, but really it's terrible. Excessive alcohol drinking is another factor. There are issues such as exposure to environmental things that can cause cancer in the environment, and there are quite a number of this. This is some of the foods we eat, some of the processed items that we are taking in, then also what the farmers have used in the produce that they're selling us, and then now goes all the way to pollution within the environment, and all these things have their own contribution. There are discussions around some of the chemicals that we'll find in our stores, including beauty products.
Yeah.
That can have some risks that people need to be very aware of. A lot of these substances have been banned in Western countries, and our message is, if it's not legal for the Western lady, it should not be legal for the African lady.
Yeah.
Then we'll come back to other issues that really are much harder to control. For example, if you are born with a breast cancer, BRCA1 and BRCA2, these are genes that increase your risk of getting breast cancer. That is not within your control. If you've ever had breast cancer before, the chance of getting it again is pretty high. If you have had family members who have had breast cancer, then that risk also remains, or even other kind of cancers. Those are significant risks. The other factors such as obesity, lifestyle, activity, sedentary lifestyle, all these factors, one or the other, contribute to cancer. There are quite a number, but the ones I've mentioned, these are the principal factors, many of which we're also able to control.
And I think maybe when we dive deep into the treatment part, the big question is, what really happens at chemo? Yeah, what really happens?
Yeah, so there are different treatment modalities. So in breast cancer, actually the whole range is available, and I'm skipping investigation for a minute, we'll come back to it. At the treatment phase, you can either have surgery, and surgery there are many types, and then you can have chemotherapy, you can have radiotherapy. You can also have what is called targeted therapy, and this is also available in the country. So chemotherapy, you're giving some medicines that are quite toxic, and they try and kill cells that are reproducing very fast. That is what cancer cells do. So essentially they limit the growth of the cancer and actually kill cancer cells. The only problem is that they also have an impact on normal cells.
Right.
But although they've been designed in a way that they have a preference for quickly replicating cells, and that's what cancer cells generally are, and that's how it's effective. The second type of therapy is radiotherapy. Radiotherapy is a sort of a beam of radioactive material. Think of it like some X-ray or something that's leaning towards some high beam, or that then targets the tumor from different areas. And there you can have what is given externally, which is basically like an X-ray standing some distance from you. It's actually called a linear accelerator. Don't worry about the name. It goes round looking at the tumor and burning up the tumor specifically from outside. You can have a bit of a reductive material within the tumor itself, which is brachytherapy, or even during surgery, you can actually then have that done, though that is often done in the West, not in Africa as much. Then we have what is called hormone therapy in breast cancer. So a lot of these breast cancers have been found to have sort of an on switch. The on switch is they have receptors. Receptors are sort of there's something that when the tumor gets in contact with, the tumor grows. And these are hormones. The most common hormones are estrogen and progesterone. So estrogen is what makes you feminine. It sort of gives you, all ladies express it, and fortunately 80% of breast cancers have this receptor for estrogen. So estrogen makes them grow faster when you already have it. So we are able to give medicines that can block estrogen production or the sensitivity of the receptors to estrogen, and thereby it keeps the tumor on an off state. That allows the tumor to not grow as much as possible. Then again, I mentioned that in surgery there are different options. So if it's very, very early, which is what we'd hope for most people, then we can actually take out just the lump itself and preserve the breast. It's called lumpectomy. But if the tumor has spread a little bit more, then it may involve removing the breast in totality, and in some cases then you also have to remove quite a bit of what is there in the armpit, the axilla, because the spread there is quite significant as well. And in some cases, for people who have a high risk of getting breast cancer, you can actually have what is called prophylactic mastectomy. Prophylactic means preventive, so you actually remove the breast in advance, expecting that the risk is extremely high in such a person.
Yeah, and I think I've gotten to understand that there are different kinds of treatment for cancer. It's not that everyone has to maybe go through the mastectomy, not everyone has to go through the chemotherapy, the radiotherapy as well. And now, I think what we really need to understand also is that it's not just men, or rather women, who can get the breast cancer. Also men get the breast cancer as well. Maybe you can open our eyes more into that.
Well, I wanted to say preach on, doctor, because yes, it's not people don't understand that, but it's actually true that you can actually, there's a big risk amongst men to get breast cancer. When I tell you 1 in 1,000, it sounds like it's a small number, but it's actually a big number. That risk remains. Of course, the risk in women is much higher, 1 in 18, and that's a significant risk. But men also have breast cancer. What we need to know is that before we become, at this point of growth, we actually all are similar, the very first stage of development, and then as we go on, we differentiate into both men. We change, take lines towards men and towards women as we grow in the womb, and we all have breast tissue. In fact, there's something called the mammary line, so you could even have what look like multiple nipples going down, and it's just that in men it doesn't develop as much as it does in women. But we all are at risk of developing breast cancer, both men and women.
Yeah, and I think one thing I got to understand from having the conversation with Catherine,
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Tonight, chaos break out in Parliament moments after House Speaker Moses Wetangula rules that Kenya Kwanza carries the day in the majority debate.
This by implication indicates that the Kenya Kwanza coalition is the majority party, and the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party is the minority party.
Azimio cries foul, saying Parliament is under siege.
Yes, the Speaker, I listened keenly to your ruling on this contentious issue. Whereas, of course, I don't agree with it.
Decision to bring back jail term to Sirisia MP and his business partner courting mixed reactions, with some feeling the rulings have political inclinations. Also tonight, trails of animal carcasses becoming a norm in most counties as the drought situation continues to bite hard.
Ngamia imeenda, mbuzi naye imehama. So kindly tulikuwa tunataka usaidizi kutoka mahali yoyote ambaye tunaweza saidika.
Government now calling for more regions to be added to the list of arid and semi-arid lands.
I am aware, as you say, that on top of the ASAL areas, there are areas that are not designated as arid lands where there is a big problem.
Usiakubali maumivu ya misuli kukatiza ratiba yako. Kaluma Pain Balm ni dawa ya kusugua iliyotengenezwa kutoka kwa miche maalum ili kutuliza maumivu ya misuli. Kaluma Pain Balm. Maumivu yakizidi, pata ushauri wa daktari.
Trent Alexander-Arnold is not a fullback. He's not a fullback that you'll depend on to win your matches.
Disability is not only limited to physical disorder, but also mental issue. From depression,
I was under depression for like 2 years.
Bipolar.
Bipolar disorder is a mood disorder.
And even suicidal thoughts.
When I was just about to hang myself, a certain voice just talked to me, and I believe that was God. I tried suicide more than 6 times.
Beyond the Limit has gone beyond its limit to find answers so as to help everyone go through life with ease. Join Muthoni Maina every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Starting this September at 8:30 p.m. on Tuesday.
Yeah, and I think one thing I got to understand from having the conversation with Catherine is that cancer is, that's very true. And I think you reminded me of a video I was watching, and they were talking about the fact that most cancer patients decide to go to other countries where you're far away from your family, you're eating processed food, a new environment, and sometimes it could even lead to your death rather than if you were around your family and you have all that love, eating your mrenda, nyama choma, and just having that good life. So I think that's a very important aspect. The whole support, the whole mental part of it is a really, really huge part. And I think Catherine also told us that the one thing that made her, survive and beat it is just the fact that she got to that point of accepting the situation, and she didn't stop her life. She was able to still go on and on with whatever, she was supposed to do at work and stuff like that. So I think the mental part is a really, really a big part as far as, all that is concerned. And I think you've also opened our eyes to a lot of it. So maybe maybe as we wind up, we might just get to understand. So at what age should you maybe start the self-examination of your breast, just to understand if maybe there's a lump? At what age are you more at risk?
Well, actually, we are now redefining that a little bit. At the moment when you have for the female gender, because the male gender, as soon as you get into adulthood, you really should be checking your breasts as well.
Yeah.
For the female gender, as soon as you have breasts that are fully developed, then you really need to begin to check. Yeah, because this happens it differs from the age of 15, actually earlier, 13, 14. You have people developing breasts at different stages. This is something that should just become habitual from a very early age. In our society, there used to be a discussion about starting a bit later, but I think at this moment what we need to do is get into a culture of self-examining from a very early age. As you teach your young child about etiquette, about how to become a lady, whatever they need to do in terms of caring for themselves, this should be part of the conversation. And if you teach somebody something very early on, this is something that becomes part of what they do throughout their life. So I really recommend, from a practice point of view, for compliance sake, as soon as you're able to induct your young daughter into the process of self-examination, it's something they can carry through. What we have today, just about 11% of women actually go through screening. And the problem with that is what we see, we'll only discover cancer when the pain is excessive, and when there's pain, it means the cancer is already advanced.
Yeah.
This is why our mortality is about half. Even that is better than many African countries. for those who have access to the kind of care that you'd probably have around this area of Kenya and within Nairobi, within even what you're doing currently, that outcome is better. And the same outcome that we're now seeing that's better can be extended across board. It starts with screening from a very early age.
Yeah, and maybe Daktari, you can maybe open our eyes to understand what are the different ways to diagnose cancer,
So
breast cancer that is.
the setup in terms of diagnosing starts with the physical examination.
Right.
And the first is the self-examination. And actually that self-examination accounts for 40% of breast cancer detections. Would you believe it? The other 60% will come in through the medical teams. Then they will actually physically inspect. Then you can take a small piece of that tissue and have it looked at under a microscope.
Yeah.
There is something called a fine needle aspiration. Then you can actually take out a piece of tissue now surgically. That's called a biopsy also. And then that can be looked at under a microscope as well. But for breast cancers, you also have to check whether they're expressing certain antigens. I spoke about the hormone therapy in breast cancer. So we need to check whether they have receptors for estrogen, for progesterone, and something else, a certain antigen called HER. So these are very important because the treatment is different based on the cancer that you have. Then there's imaging. So we'll take you for ultrasonography, which will show us the lump that you have. Is it fluid filled? Is it a solid mass? Is it cancerous or not? You can go for a mammogram. Mammogram is a very good screen, but it's best for persons aged above 35 years of age. And the ultrasound as well can also be used as a screen to see whether you have a lump if you're younger than a certain age, or if the breast tissue is quite dense as well. There are other imaging modalities as well that can be used. So these are just a couple of the tests that could be done. There's a new kind of CT scan that is being done called the PET CT scan. You've heard about it. We used to go to India for it and South Africa.
Yeah.
Now we have two in the country, and we are doing a little bit more. And what it does is to tell us whether the cancer spread beyond the breast, and also for follow-up once you've sort of been diagnosed with breast cancer, to see whether the tumor is completely gone or there's still a portion of it that's left, amongst other things that we do as doctors.
Right. And maybe as we wind up, I would love maybe to touch on one last area. Catherine brought it to our attention that when she was diagnosed, immediately she got into the office, she just got the doctor talking to a theater and booking for a mastectomy. So is there a way that doctors are trained to make sure they offer counseling to the patients? Because, you know, for HIV that happens. So cancer, does that happen as well, maybe in various hospitals? For example.
It should happen, and it's a big area. You know, my role as a medical director is to mentor, build a team, build structures. And I must say that for most doctors across the world, maybe not even Kenya only, communication hasn't been the strongest suit. So what you're proposing is the right thing, and you're doing it quickly, which is also the right thing. But the generation where the doctor is right, that is gone. There's a time where the good doctor was one who would see you walking in, and just by the way you walk, they'll tell you, this is your problem. And they can actually diagnose you, and then they write for you something, and they tell you, you take it. I've said, times have changed. The best outcomes are those where the patient is walking fully with you. And we have to be very, very sensitive about how we communicate information, whether it's good information or incorrect information. The Kenyan population is highly educated, and a key component to good outcomes is a situation where you communicate effectively. I think there are many, many doctors now who appreciate this. Certainly for us as an institution, it's one of the directions we've taken, and we are seeing better outcomes. I do expect that in the next 5 to 7 years, it will be the norm as opposed to the exception. Of course, we'd want to ensure that the same is translated across all levels of care, be it public or private, in terms of just engaging the client directly about what they need. Yes.
Right. Oh, amazing. I'm really glad that we've got to share this amazing section, but because of time, definitely we have to wind up. But thank you so much, Daktari, for opening our eyes to, what we need to know about cancer. And October being the pink month, I mean, it's only right that we create awareness, because I do understand we have over 1.38 million people getting diagnosed with cancer almost every year. So that means it's something that we need to look at. It's something we need to talk about, and also raise the awareness, raise this these conversations. And I think you as a viewer back there, you've been able to learn 1 or 2 things about cancer treatment, as well as the diagnosis and also the coping mechanism. So I hope even as we enter into this amazing Pink Month, you get your screening, and please normalize doing that self-diagnosis, because at times it's really important to know how your body is, so that if there's going to be any kind of changes, then you'll be able to detect, and at the same time go to the hospital, get your diagnosis done, and then you'll be able to catch cancer early. Remember, we've been told, we've got to understand from Catherine, from Daktari, that early detection definitely saves lives. So I have been your host on the Body Garage, Beatrice Watare. Please do have yourself a lovely evening ahead, and also please remember to go